Hey guys, it's Vladi with ACV Build, and today I'm going to show you how to float out this wall. And we already chicken wired and papered it. Obviously we put the paper on the wall first, and we did chicken wire already. And now we just got to float this thing out. Now we put the first coat on it, which is just a skim coat to help the mud to adhere to it. And now we're going to put the sticks on it, which would be the gauges. We call them float strips. All right, let me show you that. Alright, and this is super simple. You don't have to be absolutely perfect. And just make sure you put about an inch on there. No more. You don't want to go crazy. Make sure when you do float, you work quick. Alright guys, this is the edge. This is what we use to take the mud off. Super simple. Make sure. Got a little leeway. Okay, they're pretty wet. And these are float strips. They're about a 1/4 inch thick, and these are like 1.5 inches wide. Now guys, make sure you wet these sticks because they're going to start warping out if they're too dry. And they got to be wet on both sides. Now, we use a level to get this thing perfectly flat, perfectly true, perfectly plumb. All right, guys, that's perfect level. All right, that's gonna be our guide to take off the mud. So now, we got these 2 float strips in, plumb, ready to go. And basically, what you're gonna do is just get the edge on there and take off the mud, all right? That's what we're doing, just taking the mud off. So once we skim those things out, now we can see where we need to fill the wall up. And just quickly fill it in. Yeah. Now this mud, what we're using is called fat mud, okay? Dino Creek makes it. We usually purchase this at Deltile or Quarter Posse. Great stuff. I think the best on the market. If you can't find this stuff, you just gotta mix your own. And basically just sand, clay, and cement. And when we mixed it back in the day by ourselves, when we did track homes, we would do 3-1/2, okay? Then ratio went up a little bit because if you're not gonna tile it the same day, you can't put that much lime and cement in it because it's gonna start cracking, okay? But it makes it a little harder to work with because it's less sticky. Like this stuff is probably like 5-1/2 of lime or something like that. I'm not 100% sure on their formula, but it's pretty sandy. It's still good stuff. It sticks pretty good. And this is a little way too dry. We started a little late today. I want something a little wetter. You know, that's why I have to do a little bit of this, try to get it, work the water out of it so it's more pliable, malleable. And you know, once you master this skill, this is 100% a lot cheaper than any other system. All right, unless you're just sticking it to the wall, which I don't recommend it because it just doesn't last that long. But with this stuff, it stays on there. We're tearing out showers just for remodel purposes, not because they failed. They're like 20 years old. You know, the only thing that ever fails in is hot mud. And that's why we use the pan liner, you know, like I showed on my other videos. If you haven't seen that, just go back and look at my pan liner videos. I always make sure to skim coat it, because if you don't, what happens is you can still work it, but when you're going to be pulling mud off, sometimes mud comes off because it just did not stick to the wall good enough. And that's it. And then right away you can start putting the mud for your float strips. But let me show you how to take these sticks off. So basically to take them out, you just don't pull it out because a lot of mud will come out. So what I do is I just take a pointer, you know, and I try to hold my finger to whatever the side is to control the depth of it, right? So I want to go in the depth of the float strip, all right? So you don't want to go deeper than that because you're gonna pull a lot of mud out. All right, and that's it. You only need to do one side. All right, that's it. Comes out fairly clean. And after you take that out, you need to fill it back in. And basically, to fill it back in, you take the same mud, put it on your pan, make it the thickness, about double the thickness, and just put some lines in there. You want to do all this stuff at once. You don't want to wait later. Just make sure this fill-in mud is a little bit wetter than the mud on the wall. That way you can easily take it off without distorting the other mud. All right, guys, now that we got the walls floated out, I'm gonna show you how to do the curb. So basically, once I float out the wall and I fill up the voids where the float strips were, I start on the curb. I wanna put some mud on here, build it out, so that way it sets up a little bit. So after the point where I fill up the gaps, I let them set up just a little bit, and then I have to run them once more with a wood float just to kind of catch any little bumps or anything that may protrude out of the walls and stuff like that, you know. Little tacks and stuff like that could be not 100% flat. So basically, let's throw some mud on the curb because that's the next thing we're gonna do. All right, make sure you build it out really good. Put a little extra. It's really easy to cut it. Make sure you work this stuff in here. You know, I try to build out about 2 inches thicker than I need to be. And that way later on, I can cut off as much as I need to. It's really hard to add, but it's a lot easy to remove. Just like anything else. All right, so that's it. That's how I got it ready. All right, and now I'm just gonna go back to my shower walls. See, I filled up the float strips areas, and I just gotta run through with a wood float and make sure it's perfect. All right, guys, after I float up my curb, let it sit up so I can cut it later and shape it, I just go through and make sure I have my walls perfect. You know, just anything that sticks out, I'm gonna knock it down with my wood float. And the reason why the wood float is so long, that way I'm not making any waves in my mud. It's staying true. It basically uses the rest of the mud as a guide. Especially around the niche, there's going to be always a little bit that sticks up. See over here at the bottom, I got to remove a tiny bit. And go through it. And absolutely do not press hard because you will screw up everything you did. You know, just lightly. You know, obviously, the drier the wall is, the more you're gonna have to press. But it shouldn't be super dry. All right, guys. Now that we got all the walls done, let's work on the curb. It got set up a little bit. You know, it's not too pretty much level, but you know what? I wanted to make it 100% true. All right, just put a wedge under there. All right, I'm level now. Let's cut the top. So I'm a little shy on the top. I should have put a little bit more mud. I was being a little too conservative with it. But, you know, it's no problem. We can add a little. All right. That's just perfect, guys. Run it, make sure we have no bumps. Now what we do on the inside is just measure, okay? First, I just try to stick the flat trowel to see where is my chicken wire. You know, I cannot go too close to that. I want to stay at least a 1/4 inch away from that. 1/2 inch would be better. You know, and that just gives me to see where I'm at. All right here, I got about 4 1/4. 4 1/4. So let's make it about 4 1/4. Let's make it 4 3/8. I mean 4 5/8. That's what we can do. 4 5/8. 4 5/8. Got my guides and plunge it one more time. Yeah, line it right up on the marks that I made. Okay, and go back and forth. And try to keep this as true as possible. Try not to lean it. And you know, if it's a little off level, what you do is just heel it with your wood flow. You can, you know, get that level with the wood flow. And kind of fell apart on me a little. Wasn't quite as dry as needed. It'll be okay. And after having some practice, you can just basically work with it any way it comes. Alright, let's see what we got. 4 5/8. 4 5/8 perfection. Alright guys, now that I got this thing perfect, just want to run my wood float. Make sure I don't have any peaks. That's it, guys. It's gonna be good enough for this tile, all right? Let alone for something big, okay? See, the top is not gonna work. I'm gonna have to split the tile in half and throw a joint on top. Something you gotta do sometimes, because obviously I can't make it any smaller, because you need some sauce. You need some thickness for the strength of it, okay? If you make it too thin, it's gonna be too brittle. You want it to be strong. Alright guys, that was it. That's all I got to show you today. Quick, easy ways to float out the wall and float out the curb. Super easy. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment below, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.